Joy Taylor, who
Unbelievable.
Joy Taylor joined Kayla Nicole, who's the ex-girlfriend of Travis Kelsey. Apparently, she's an influencer as well. She has a
Of course.
podcast.
Of
Go
course.
figure. Um, and Joy Taylor, of course, these women subscribe to, bad chick mentality, I would say. And she joined Kayla Nicole on her podcast, and they got onto the subject of Joy Taylor and the experiences that she had throughout her career as a sports anchor, with the way that she dressed and being perceived as sexy or unprofessional because of the way that she dressed. And she basically talked about how she learned how to essentially get up on her high horse and not be too concerned with who is being made uncomfortable with the way that she's dressed. Because apparently, if you feel as though she's dressed sexy, that's a you problem, not a her problem.
That's my fault.
Yeah. So everybody prepare for the gaslighting
Uh,
segment of tonight's live stream. Um, so we'll go ahead and provide a little context real quick. So this says Joy Taylor recalls not wanting to be too sexy as a sports anchor. Joy Taylor refuses to appease the male gaze after years of being attacked for her attire. The sports personality was a guest on the October 4th episode of Kayla Nicole's podcast, The Pregame, where the host referenced Taylor's quote that she will never apologize for being both smart and sexy on TV. If that makes you uncomfortable, that is your problem, Nicole said around the 12-minute mark of the video below. Taylor, whose contract with Fox Sports wasn't renewed in July, stood by her remarks, although she told Nicole that she wasn't always this way. And I say that because it's important to know when you are in your career, the equity that you have in a certain business, the relationships, the ground that you've laid for your skills, all that is important. Taylor added that early in her career, she was hyper aware of coming across too sexy because she didn't want people to assume she was leading with her looks. But I did reach a point in my career where I was like, look, I'm not trying to create this persona that is not accurate to who I am. And like, quite frankly, if my body makes you uncomfortable, I don't know what to effing tell you. The host went on to discuss that certain clothing may look different on curvy types, causing shapelier women to be ridiculed. It's like nothing about what she's wearing is inappropriate. Her body just bothers you because you're a creep. In your
what? Wow.
in your mind, that is what a sexy body looks like, and therefore it should be covered to not emphasize what her body looks like. And so I just got to a point where I was like, what I'm wearing is not inappropriate. It's the same thing that my coworker is wearing. It's literally the same outfit my coworker is wearing, but she's just thin and not curvy. So it looks professional on her and it looks unprofessional on me. And also, I'm not an unreasonable person. I'm not popping out on television in effing pasties. So it's like, look, if you sexualizing me, that's your problem. Like me showing up looking like a professional and doing my job and you thinking I'm sexy, that's you. I'm not doing anything different than anyone else is doing. I'm not doing anything different than the men are doing. I'm just hotter. One, one one sports personality who sexualized Taylor's body was Jason Whitlock, who once remarked that Taylor had peanut butter skin and a big rack. So, yeah, man. So Joy Taylor, of course, is right? Like, if there's a perception that she dresses sexy on television, that's because of us, and it's our problem. And so, we just have to learn to deal with that.
Oh, brother. Listen,
Uh,
man. I've seen Joy Taylor, um, you know, flaunt that that big rack of hers. Yeah, and her peanut butter skin, all on camera, on many occasions. Um, I guess it's deemed professional because they weren't pasties. She wasn't wearing pasties, but I mean, she was showing some strong cleavage, a lot. Um, at some points, I'm not going to sit here and lie. I enjoyed watching Skip and Shannon go at it, a few times. So I will watch, especially after something crazy happened in football or whatever, and I'll just, hear their take. And Joy was good eye candy. I felt as though it was a good formula to have, um decaying um Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharp doing his thing, but then having eye candy to offset all of that. Um, and I felt as though having eye candy that knows some stuff about sports is helpful. It's better than having a dunce up there. So that's why I felt like Joy was a healthy balance, if you will, because what Joy's job was to be a cheerleader, basically. You look across the NFL, college football, but specifically the NFL and NBA too. NBA too. Um, and they're about to cut the commercials, and here's the cheerleaders with pom poms. Go Cowboys! And she bad. That's good for viewership. There's a lot of men watching this game, and men respond to eye candy. So to have a host of a show who serves as eye candy, I thought that was good for sports. It was a good balance. It was a good equation. It's like having a cheerleader on set. So every once in a while, she'll wear some stuff that looks the part, and it was provocative in many cases. I didn't see her up there with a turtleneck often. Okay, I would say that. Okay, so for her to act completely naive to the fact of what her role was on TV, is laughable to me. For her to say that um, we were sexualizing her is laughable. If you ask me, she was sexualizing herself. If you went to her
Exactly.
IG page, yeah, you were her IG page. By the way, this image under JV wins. Okay, that's from her IG page. Okay, she poses in her bikini often. Okay, um, I don't know why somebody would pose in their bikini, other than look at me and look how hot I am. She even said it in the article of, I can't help it that I'm hot, or whatever the hell. What does hot mean? Is not hot is not hot a connotation for sexualization? So you say I can't help that I'm sexy? I can't help that other people find me sexually attractive, you know? And then so at that point, people associating the two isn't far fetched. Last thing I'll say before I let you go is we spoke on the first two topics about on the grid, off the grid. We had a term when we were in high school for under the radar. We would call those girls under the radar. What are under the radar women? They are women who have the looks, facial wise, and the body that the top tier, everybody wants that person hype type female has, but she's below the radar because she doesn't wear the same kind of clothes. She carries herself different. She walks with class. She doesn't walk like the other ones. So she's below the radar. So you can have all the benefits of the hot girl with none of the radar action that you would get for having the hottest girl. You still have a hot girl. She just is off the grid. So there's nothing about Joy Taylor that's below the radar. She advertises her goods constantly, whether she's being paid to do it or in her own spare time on her Instagram. So I would say that I'm sorry, I'm not buying this hypocrisy from Joy Taylor. Okay, she knew exactly what she was doing. She knew exactly what her role was, and she did it well. That's why she stayed on the air for over 10 years. It was because she looked the part, and her part was to be eye candy. So, sorry, Joy, I'm not going to sit here and buy this. As you mentioned, gaslighting. To me, this was just a word salad, and I'm not buying it. But what are your thoughts, man, on Joy Taylor saying that, hey, she can't help it that she's too hot for TV, and it's our fault for sexualizing her? What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, of course it is. It is our fault. Yeah, I don't. I think that this is bogus, and I think that this is more evidence of social deconstruction.
Mm.
And listen, man, me personally, I don't have an issue with women being sexy on television. I don't have an issue with women being sexy in general. I rather appreciate it. Um, as a heterosexual man, I appreciate seeing sexy women. Um, just don't tell me that you're not being sexy.
Exactly.
I feel like you're insulting my intelligence
Exactly.
when you are trying to suggest that what I am witnessing or looking at is in fact not sexiness, but something that I've conjured up in my mind because I have a sickness. That to me, I'm offended by that. I'm offended by that notion, and I think that it diminishes. Now I'm not trying to make excuses for men because there are some men who do fall into this category, but
Mhm.
I think that gross generalization, in my opinion, diminishes all men to being nothing more than sexual deviants who respond to nothing but sexual stimuli. And there's a lot of guys out here who aren't a creep, which is a word that was used in that article.
Yes, very
Who,
strong word, by the way.
yeah, right, yeah. There's a lot of men in the world who aren't creeps, who don't actively walk about in the world purposefully attempting to sexualize women everywhere they go all the time,
Exactly.
who do accord women respect and decency and humanity and don't make them feel uncomfortable or make them feel as though their forms of dress are somehow unprofessional or unbecoming. And those guys, nevertheless, view the way Joy Taylor dresses at times as sexy. That does not mean that they have some sort of a problem that they have to reconcile. Maybe it just means, Joy Taylor, you dress sexy. But see, there's an but see, that's a part of the social deconstruction agenda.
Yes.
I dress sexy, but let me be a part of trying to redefine what that means so that I can look this way, but not have to deal with the trappings of being identified as sexy. We want to completely strip away all the various, you know, um, manners in which we have come to identify what sexy means, get rid of those definitions and create new ones. So that if a person identifies you as sexy, it isn't because it is in fact sexy. It's because, oh, I must have a problem. It's a me problem.
Mhm.
Even though you're wearing that form-fitting dress that accentuates all of your best features, you're not actually being sexy, and I shouldn't identify it that way. And if I do, it means that I have a problem that I have to deal with because
Yes.
I shouldn't perceive it that way. That is a very sophisticated form of gaslighting, in my opinion.
Mhm.
And again, to try to be reasonable to the conversation, I don't know what she may have gone through or experienced in the industry. Maybe she's had one or two bad experiences where, because she showed up to work wearing a dress, some guys did something or said something that she didn't appreciate. Okay, that's fine. But don't take those experiences and extrapolate that to a general sense of very basic understandings of words like sexy and what that means.
Mhm.
Like, you can be looked upon as sexy without a person sexualizing you in a way that's damaging or negative. Like that there's a possibility. Like, it happens all the time.
Mhm.
And if you didn't, and she knows that, and if she didn't know that, she wouldn't be dressing that way.
Correct.
So I don't agree with this. Of course, I think that this is dangerous rhetoric. I think it's another form of social deconstruction, and people try to pull this kind of inceptive sleight of hand all the time, where they are capitulating to a behavior that knowingly yields a particular result, but you want to get the benefits inherent in that behavior without dealing with the drawbacks that come along with it. And you're not going to ever live in a world in which that happens. If you want to get the benefits of your physical appeal, you're going to have to deal with some of the negative consequences that come along with it. And if you don't want to deal with the negative consequences because you've determined that the juice isn't worth the squeeze, then you have to take inventory of yourself and adjust your life accordingly. But you certainly do receive the benefits. You're paid as an influencer on your social media accounts largely because of how you look. And as you pointed out, you dress the way you dress and you have plenty of bikini pics on your Instagram. You're being paid for a lot of that stuff. So there is a gross level of hypocrisy that is attached to talking like this, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
where you get to benefit from the same system that in a different context you want to choose to rail against. I don't understand it, but that is what these agents of chaos try to engage in all the time. And she's no different. So I just think it's incumbent upon people who are fair minded and reasonable, who identify the hypocrisy, to point it out.
Yeah, well said, man. And this is exactly what I was talking about in the last topic when it comes to, trusting your source. You know, and let's say, somebody's trying to get to know Joy Taylor. Yeah, they seen her on TV. Yeah, they heard all the rumors. All right, but one on one, they're just trying to get to know this woman and figure out what's going on. Her self-preservation, because part of her self-preservation is her reputation. And so her reputation is under extreme scrutiny because of those allegations that went on, that she blew her way to the top. Okay. So she wants to not associate with that anymore. So what does she do? She comes up with a completely different narrative that absolves her from anything sexual. Okay. So she, instead, it would help her rebranding to take all those bikini pictures down on her IG, but she's not. Okay. Her workout pictures showing her working out her glutes. Okay. Uh, all of that stuff, man. It would help to do that if you're trying to rebrand yourself. But she went on this woman's show, trying to create a new narrative of herself that, hey, look, I wasn't being over sexual. Okay. I wasn't being over sexual on the set. I was being a professional person. Okay. Yes, I was wearing clothes that was showing cleavage, but if you put that on somebody else's body, all right, it's not going to show as much, but it's still a V cut. Okay. And so, yeah, you're a little bit more, you have a big rack, as Whitlock would say. So you'll have a little bit more protrusion. Okay. But the point of the matter is, like I said, you ain't walking up there with turtlenecks. I ain't even see that in the wintertime. Okay. So, but she's in the business of trying to clear up her name. And what better way to do that than to give me lies? Okay. And so if you're dealing with somebody that's up against the wall and they know that if they give you option A, which is the truth, they will look worse. But if they give you option B, which is a lie, okay, but it would make them look better, they'll give you option B. Okay. How often will this happen? 10 times out of 10. You're dealing with human nature at this point. And so, no, I'm not going for this. To me, this is completely rubbish. I don't know who's buying this, outside of like-minded women's,
Of course.
you know, who like to um cover themselves to say that, hey, look, uh I can't help that I'm voluptuous. Okay. I wear this, I wear the same size as this other person, and my hips poke this much, so I'm going to be showing more, and all this and this and other garbage. It's garbage. You know what I'm saying? So that's the stuff that they tell themselves in circles to pat themselves on the back. In the real world, where people are objectively looking at things, I don't know how many people are going for that, neither male or female. All right. We all saw you on TV. We all saw how you looked. And honestly, yeah, it's nothing wrong with knowing what your role was on Fox. Did you know sports to a degree? Yes, you did. Were you good at your job? I personally thought she was good at her job.
I did too.
Yeah, so I didn't have a problem with any of those things, but it helps if you're hot. And she needs to be okay with that. And don't gaslight me into thinking that you didn't get hired because of your looks too. Because I'm telling you right now, there's some cave dwelling, you know what I'm saying, knuckle dragging type of women who love sports. Okay. But they don't have the look, so they're not going to make it on the big time. Okay. We all know this. You know, and this is no slight, okay, but I watch a lot of college football, and when good teams lose, I like to go to their team's podcast to hear them vent. It's ASMR for me whenever my team loses. Okay, I like to hear other fan bases panic and get crazy. And so when I go there, I see women who know about their team. They know the players, they know what's going on, they know the coaching scenarios, like they know sports front to back. They don't have the Taylor Rook look or the Joy Taylor look. They don't have that look, but they know sports front to back. They're not going to be on ESPN. And so, at some point you have to realize that, when you make it to the big time, it's not just because you know ball. Okay. Um, you probably have to know some different kinds of balls, but just knowing ball ain't gonna cut it. So yeah, man. So I'm not buying this, Joy. Shout out to Joy, man. I don't have a problem with her outside of her gaslighting me every other month on the internet. Just stick to the sports. But other than that, I think she's a cool person. I think she is somebody you would want to hang out with. She seems fun. She seems cool. I don't have a problem with that. But she can't help but to give us the double talking, dangerous rhetoric, gaslighting type of stuff when she's not talking about football. But yeah, man, that's my thoughts on that, man. And shout out to Jason Taylor as well, man. I have no problem with the Taylor family, man. I think they're cool peeps.
Yeah, I just, at the end of the day, with conversations like this, and, this is going on a larger level. So it's not just about Joy Taylor specifically,
Mm-hmm.
but, you know, there's good and bad aspects to everything. Nothing's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So, in a person in Joy Taylor's position, I'm pretty sure she experiences being sexualized in a way that's unbecoming, unprofessional, all of that good stuff. I'm
Yeah.
sure, yeah, and she's well within her right to rail against that. I completely understand that. I just kind of feel like at the same time, you also willfully sexualize yourself
Right.
on your own controlled platforms.
Yes.
So because you participate in the sexual marketplace to a certain degree, you have to accept all of the bad stuff that comes along with it because you do benefit from that thing. You
Thank you.
benefit from that very thing.
Thank you.
So
Yes.
for me, it's in one ear and out the other when she starts complaining about being sexualized because she sexualizes herself for profit in her career.
Yes.
So help me figure that out, Joy Taylor, into the litany of other women who engage in this double talk trying to confuse me.
Yeah.
Make me feel like I'm the bad guy because I sexualize you. Well, you sexualized yourself first. I'm not going out of my way to make you feel uncomfortable or I'm not trying to diminish you down to your sexualization and create a situation in which you can't contribute to society in ways other than your physical attractiveness. Like it ain't that serious. And I'm willing to say most people aren't treating her that way. So this ongoing diatribe that these individuals engage in, where they submit to, all of this victimhood about how, woe is them because they're such a victim of their physical attractiveness and they're always getting sexualized. Like, what are you doing? You're making money off of this.
Exactly.
So that's my whole thing. Like, stop it with the double talk, man. And stop trying to confuse people who are smart enough to know that you're trying to confuse them. Like it's insulting people's intelligence. It really is. And again, like I personally don't have an issue with women being like I prefer to see women being sexy. I don't want to live in a world where women are trying to not be sexy personally. I don't want to live in that world. I think that there's a way to do it with tact, of course, but
Yeah.
I don't want to. But I don't want to live in a world where women aren't doing this. So I get it. Like it is what it is. But just stop. Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining.
Exactly.
Don't dress sexy and be sexy and exude sexiness and embrace the sexy side of yourself, but then tell me I have a problem because I perceive you for being sexy. Like what the hell is that? So again, I think that it's a diversionary tactic and it's an effort to confuse people. And I do believe it's a form of gaslighting that I don't agree with. So I don't like it when they do it. If she was really about that life, she wouldn't be making money as a sexual object, but she clearly is. So, you cannot have it both ways, despite the fact that so many people nowadays still try to do it. It's just not gonna fly over here, and I'm gonna call it out every chance I get.
Yeah, and I'll say this, and I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but you know, I have two sexies. So I have status quo sexy, on the grid sexy, and then I have off the grid, as I call below the radar sexy, where they're not wearing those kind of clothes, but you can still see
Right,
that she's an attractive person.
right.
And Joy Taylor does the
On the
the
grid.
on the grid. Look at my boobies. This is my best attribute here. I have a golden smile and a rack and peanut butter skin. And this is what Whitlock tried to get to us. I'm not trying to side with Whitlock here, but this is what she does, and she puts it on full display. And so that status quo sexy, but this is my point. That status quo sexy is the sexual marketplace, Instagram, like DM, OF, and that's to me, at some point, yes, that is deemed sexy because you're being sexual. And then there's the other one where we're calling it sexy, but it is sexy in the sense that you dress with decorum, class, grace, you know, and you still carry yourself in a way where it's like, damn, that's hot, you know. And that's the kind of sexy, of course, whatever. I don't mind that. But the ones that do dress and put it all out there on Front Street, any attribute they got, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you might see the camel foot, okay, with these photos because they're showing everything now. So if for that on the grid type of stuff, yeah, it's hard to not associate that with bedroom action because literally everything you're showing me is bedroom.
It really,
So
yeah,
and so and not every man has class, grace, and decorum themselves. So even we see it. So imagine the creeps.
right,
You're not going to stop them at that point.
yeah,
So yeah, you just have to be aware of what you're welcoming in that world whenever you put your foot in those waters. And to act naive about that and to gaslight the world to say my feet ain't in those waters. Yes, they are. And so you get those piranhas that come with it. So get away from that pond, all right, and step your foot in some fresh water. But hey man,
yeah,
it'd be like that. That's where we're gonna have to deal with that because we all saw Angel Reese walking that runway.
yeah,
Okay, yeah, we all seen that. All right.
yeah. But we did see it. But I get my central point is, if someone were to say Angel Reese was being sexy in that moment, I would hope Angel Reese would agree with that. Like, just don't be sexy, but then try to tell me you're not. That's my whole thing.
It's on the way. It's on the way.
It's like you know what I'm saying. Like, don't, if I'm looking at the color blue, right?
Yes.
Like, you know what I'm saying. Don't tell me that it's actually yellow and I'm crazy for thinking it's blue. No,
Yeah.
I know what blue looks like. I've seen it. Like, I
Yeah.
know what blue looks like. So that's my whole thing. Like, don't tell me that that's not being sexy. Like, yeah, you might, you're behaving in a professional manner and you're being professional in terms of how you conduct yourself at work. And I would never take that away from you. Nevertheless, you're dressed sexy.
Yes.
So both things can be true. Just don't try to don't gaslight me by telling me it's not sexy. I'm offended by that. I really am,
Agreed.
and I'm not someone who's easily offended. But that is something that, like, if you were to actually do that to me in person, I would question who you are as a person, because I'd be like, does this person really think I'm stupid? So it is what it is, man. But that's social deconstruction for you. So shouts out to Joy Taylor. I hope you get it figured out, and embrace your sexiness, or not. Who knows?
Yeah. Unbelievable.